Hello, this is Idodmg and welcome back to the channel. In this last Epoch video, I want to talk to you about Warlock. Warlock was recently revealed on Icy Veins, and all the original footage and information was from Icy Veins. Warlock will be added when last Epoch releases into 1.0 and leaves early access on February 21st, 2024. I would also like to thank 11th Hour Games for sponsoring this video. Along with the Warlock, we are also going to get 5 new curses added to the game. The first one is Anguish, which will last 10 seconds, reduce damage over time dealt, and it will also deal necrotic damage to all enemies that are afflicted with it whenever you kill another enemy. It cannot stack. Second curse is Penance that will last for 15 seconds and it will deal fire damage. You also have Decrepify, which is a curse that will deal physical damage over time and will also cause the target to take more damage from damage over time abilities based on the character's missing health. It's a low life curse. The fourth curse they're going to be adding is Acid Skin. This one's going to deal damage over time and it will also add a 20% chance to be critically hit. This one can be stacked, so that'll help out with your crit chance. What we're going to be focusing on in this video, and this little kind of mini build I've planned out, is called Torment. This one will deal necrotic damage over time, and it will also reduce the enemy's movement speed, but it cannot be stacked. I'm really excited to talk to you about this build that I've spent a few hours here planning out for what I think would be a decent starting build with the Warlock. The very first skill is Chaos Bolts. Chaos Bolt skill tree has a lot of different options, but the one we're going to be going for is what's going to allow it to auto-cast Rip Blood. As well as that, it's also going to allow us to recast curses that are on enemies that are already cursed. The very first node we're going to pick up is called Abrupt Chaos. This will increase the cast speed and projectile speed of Chaos Bolt. After that, we're going to go over here to Pandemonium, pick up a chance for increased area. And again, this is just a chance, it's not a guaranteed, but when it does proc, I think it'll be pretty awesome and it'll be able to hit even more enemies. After that, we're going to go to Doom's Vindication. This is going to allow Chaos Bolts to deal more damage, and they'll do more damage to cursed enemies. Now, the curse that we're going to be using is Torment, which can't stack, so it'll be really interesting to see in gameplay how well we can keep it sustained, but we'll talk about exactly how we're going to be applying that curse a little bit later in the video. Next up, we have Devoured the Damned. This is going to allow us to gain health as well as mana against cursed enemies. Again, we'll have to see how well we can keep those curses sustained while we're actually playing this in-game once it comes out on the 21st. This is going to be the node that's going to actually activate that Rip Blood autocast. Now, Rip Blood will have a chance, 1% chance per intelligence, but if you can get up to 100 intelligence, that's a 100% chance for this to actually proc, and it can only happen 3 times per second, which is still pretty good. After that, we're going to go down to Condemned Chaos, and the reason for that is you'll see next when we turn Rip Blood and we convert it into Necrotic, we're going to be playing around the Necrotic ailment, which is Damned, is the damage over time part for necrotic, and this will allow us to inflict that damage over time ailment onto enemies with our Chaos Bolts. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to also have Chaos Bolt be able to refresh curses on the target, and we're also going to be gaining a little bit of health. Again, I know we're using Torment, which can't stack, so again, it's not going to be a lot of healing potential there, but I still thought it'd be a nice little filler node. And last but not least, we're going to pick up Seed of Chaos. This is going to give us a chance to recast our Chaos Bolts against cursed enemies. Again, I'm really hoping we can keep the curse up really well, and if so, we'll have that chance to recast and just, basically echo our abilities. That's Chaos Bolts. I think that'd probably end up being one of my main abilities to proc everything else in the build that we're going to talk about. Next up, we're going to have Rip Blood. This is not a new Warlock ability, but this is one that I think would be pretty cool. This is just going to be for the splatter AoE damage. We're also going to have a little bit of stun. And as I mentioned, we're going to convert this into necrotic as well. And we're going to pick up a little bit of healing. Speaking of survival, I'm thinking about a little bit of healing is always nice, but I'm thinking we're going to lean up a little bit more heavily into ward. This is not a low life build by any means. This is a little bit more of a cookie cutter Warlock build that I think will be a great starting build without getting too crazy, since when the game very first starts in the very first cycle, you won't have access to all your crazy gear and you're going to have to rebuild. So the next skill we're going to talk about is going to be our ward generator. And this is a new Warlock skill called Soul Feast. Soul Feast is an ability that literally feasts on the souls of enemies. Now, the enemies do have to be cursed in order for this to actually take effect. What's going to happen is we're going to feast off the enemy's souls, and that's going to give us ward. There's a little bit more we're going to pull off here with this skill as well. Let's go ahead and break it down for you. The very first node we're going to pick up is Hunger for cast speed and mana efficiency, because the skill itself costs 17 mana when it starts out, which isn't that bad, but mana reduction would be nice so that we can spam our Chaos Bolts even more. The next node we're going to pick up is called Soulkeeper. This will grant additional ward based on your intelligence. And then we're going to go 5 points into Bones of the Accursed. This one does scale based off how many curses you have on the target. And again, Torment can't stack, so perhaps we'll revisit that in the future. But for each curse that you do have on the target, Soul Feast hits get more ward and also deal more damage. Again, that's 25% more ward per enemy hits. That's pretty good. Next up, we have Sharpened Influence. I think we'll take this one again to help out with that mana efficiency. And not only that, but I should have mentioned this about Soul Feast, is it does have a limit of only 13 enemies by default, but you can ramp that up. If you put 3 points in this node, you can bump that up to 19 targets. And we'll keep going here. The next one is called Engorge. This will make Soul Feast cost less mana. You can probably already see a trend here with our mana efficiency and cost reduction nodes. But what's cool about this one is you have a chance per 10 current mana to cast a Greater Fragment. And what a Greater Fragment will do is it will give you more ward. And that's the whole point in the skill for my build anyway, is that ward generation. And last but not least, we'll go into this node here. And this will give us soul fragments that we get from rare or boss enemies. Will just give us more ward. And kind of the reason for this is if you're going like on a boss fight where there's just a single target, you're not going to have as many enemies to be consuming their souls for ward. And so hopefully you can make up for that by getting more from that single target. Another new Warlock skill coming is called Chthonic Fissure. This is a casted spell ability. And what's cool about this is it kind of works like a turret ability where it's going to shoot out souls. And I'll show you this in a minute, where the spirits can actually cast Chaos Bolts, which you can see the synergy from the Chaos Bolts that we already talked about, auto-casting Rip Blood. It's literally kind of this ripple effect. I think it's going to be pretty crazy. You can also spec into this to get more talents and Torment damage. Remember, Torment is our damage over time element from necrotic damage. The very first node we'd pick up would be Death from Below. What this is this is going to make Chthonic Fissure do more damage. Double the effect if the enemy is cursed. Next up, we have Fragile Crust. What this is going to do is it's going to make Chthonic Fissure cost less mana, and it'll give some of the mana back if there is a cursed player, rare enemy, or boss when you cast it. I really just went into this for the mana cost reduction. So the next node is going to be Spirit Gale. We'll go over here and pick this up, and what this is when tormented enemies die, they have a chance to release the spirit to inflict and torment another enemy within 8 meters. I'm kind of just thinking like a chain effect here to keep that torment rolling. And then we will go down here to Damned Waters, and what this is going to do, this will have the spirits inflict 3 extra stacks of Damned. And then we go over here to Severed Wards. What this is going to do is the spirits will shred necrotic resistance of the enemy. Shred is a huge mechanic in Last Epoch, and since we are going necrotic, it'll just help out up our damage just that little bit more. And then after that, we're going to pick up this node to allow Fissure to release spirits more frequently. And that's going to synergize up to the node that I'm most excited to test out, which is going to allow spirits to have a chance to cast Chaos Bolts. This node looks pretty cool, and I really can't wait to see it in action. That's all your skills and curses. Last but not least, I want to go ahead and talk about the Warlock passive tree. We're not breaking down the entire passive tree or anything like that. We're just going to be talking about some of the passives that I think are really exciting and what I think I would want to work into this build. The Warlock passive tree has a lot of skill options. As much as I'd love to sit here and break down the entire skill tree with you, I think that'd be very time consuming for you and me. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and point out some passive nodes that I think would really fit the flavor of this build really well, kind of line up with the curse as well as the skills that we've talked about. Again, there's loads more to this passive tree. Perhaps in a future video, we'll do more of a deep dive. Passive tree for Warlock, there's many options, but these are the nodes that I think are going to fit our build. Very first one is Chaos Flames. This is going to increase fire damage, which we do not care about. The reason we're going into this is because it will increase our necrotic damage. Here's the third node I'm really excited to try out. This will give us a higher War Decay threshold, and we'll also gain ward on kill. Over here on Dark Protections, you can get more ward per second. There also is a damage reduction for the curse. Again, we're not going to be stacking up loads of curses in this build. There's so many different build options with Warlock. It's just awesome. I mean, with every class. But it's really exciting to see this new class being added to the game. That's going to wrap it up for this Warlock video. And don't forget, Last Epoch is coming out on February 21st. You can pre-order and get some goodies as well. There's 3 different editions that you can purchase. Just the base game. And you're also going to get the Golden Guppy exclusive pet. You can also get the Deluxe Edition and the Ultimate Edition as well. I'll have the link down below where you can go to pre-order this. And I also have a video covering the Deluxe and Ultimate Editions as well if you want a deeper look in my opinions on the cash shop and how the game is handling monetization. That's going to wrap it up for this last Epoch Warlock video. Hopefully you found this video useful and entertaining. If so, don't forget that like button and subscribe to the channel for more action RPG videos. The best way to support me is through becoming a YouTube channel member today or dropping a super thanks down below the video. Your view alone means the absolute world. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.